And we're back, Red Press, and we can all sigh a big sigh of relief there. Liverpool 2, Wolves 1 in the Premier League today. Liverpool go 7 points clear at the top of the Premier League ahead of Arsenal. Wasn't a great watch, wasn't a great game of football. Certainly wasn't a great watch from a Liverpool perspective in that second half and the last 10 minutes or so. Very nervy game of football. Liverpool maybe rather look slightly a little bit there. So what was the story of the game? How did it start off? Well, we saw Luis Diaz not playing a centre forward, playing out on the left. Diogo Jota starting through the middle, and Liverpool generally looking like they were putting out their strongest available side. Maybe there's a shout there for Cody Gakpo starting rather than Diaz. But in terms of Diaz, he was involved in both Liverpool goals, scoring one, which I thought was brilliant, very committed, did enough, and was involved in the Mo Salah penalty, of course. So Diaz taken a lot of stick recently. Maybe he wasn't brilliant today, but he was involved in 2 goals, so you can't really ask for much more than that. And throughout the first half, Liverpool were good without being brilliant. They did enough to get themselves 2 goals ahead, and were playing generally all right, where it obviously all started to go wrong. And maybe the biggest story of the game is in the second half, and you think, well, what went wrong? Ultimately, you've got to give a little bit of credit to Wolves, who I thought played really well and came out and tried to, play against Liverpool. But as we've seen in the Everton game at Goodison in midweek, and we saw today at Wolves, when Liverpool are playing this kind of languid, almost passive style of football, where they're trying to draw players in and trying to move players out of position to create space in the middle so they can get the ball forward to Ryan Gravenberch. When they're doing that and they don't really have a plan B, when the opposition don't really engage with that, because to do that you've got to have an opposition which moves, got to have an opposition which wants to pressure. If they don't want to engage with you in that, then all you're doing is playing football with yourself, passing it around the back four, passing it from the goalkeeper to the centre backs, etc., etc. Everton didn't want to engage with Liverpool and press, and they were only concerned with blocking off those routes to the midfield, especially Gravenberch and McAllister. They were brilliant at it, you've got to say, Everton. Wolves today, less so. There was a little bit more movements in them there, but it was still similar. They weren't really engaging with that back four. So again, the pace of the game just dropped massively. That energy in the stadium just got sucked out, and Liverpool just kind of passing the ball around, not really being incisive. Because I think it's, as I was saying, when you're playing that kind of languid, passive style football, it's very difficult to start to ramp it up. If you're starting slow, how do you really kind of go from 0 to 60? I think it's really, really hard. So I think I would like to see Slot mix things up a little bit more, especially coming midweek against Villa. I think there's more to be done, I think, from now to the end of the season. We've seen a progression of how Liverpool are playing from the start of the season, when obviously Arne Slot is trying to impose his DNA on the team, but there was plenty of Jurgen Klopp in the side. Now it may be seeing less and less of Klopp in the side, less of that chaotic front foot, heavy metal football, however you want to phrase it, and it's a little bit more controlled. I think Slot has got to maybe look and acknowledge that there's a reason that Liverpool were pretty successful playing in a certain way with largely this group of players. And I think we need to maybe get back to how we're playing earlier in the season, not just form-wise, but obviously stylistically. I think it's going to suit this run of fixtures a little bit better. But this run of fixtures, 5 games in 5 days it was. We played the first 2. We got 4 points. So you can't really argue with that too much. I don't think we're going to be getting maximum points from it. I don't think we'll win against Manchester City, for instance. But if we win against Aston Villa, then that takes that pressure off of playing against City. And pressure, I think, is why Liverpool are playing the way they are at the moment. They don't really want to exert themselves. They don't really want to be too incisive because they're maybe giving the ball away too much. The pressure there on, losing points with Arsenal, not quite breathing down the necks, but ready to capitalise on any mistakes Liverpool make. That pressure is there because Liverpool know that they're in a fantastic position to win the league, and they do not want to, bottle it, as it's going to be categorised if that happens. I think we get through this little run of games and Liverpool can hopefully play themselves into form. Today, they did enough to get themselves over the finishing line. That won't be enough against other teams. Certainly won't be enough against Manchester City or Newcastle. They really have got to up the game, but that includes maybe being a little bit more adaptable to how they're playing, depending on the opposition. I think your likes of City and Newcastle will engage with Liverpool a bit more. Probably Aston Villa at home as well. They'll engage with Liverpool a bit more, move around a little bit, make it a little bit easier for Liverpool to move around the pitch. But Liverpool have got to try and play on the front foot. This passive way of playing is not the way to win a Premier League at this stage. You need to grab hold of it. You need to exert yourself and exert your domination against the opposition. I think if we try to be a little bit more cerebral about it, try to, have a bit more control over it, that's where you lose control. Liverpool got to go out and grab 3 points against every team that they play, or try to. And if they don't, it doesn't happen, then okay, you play the next game. But I think the longer you play more passively, the more these games are going to get out of our control, I think. So I think hopefully the players and the experience from the players and the Premier League experience from these players, we can maybe step things up a little bit more than what we've seen over the past week or so. What Liverpool did right today, there were some good positives. I mean, apart from obviously winning and going 7 points clear at the top of the league, there were some positives in the performance. Alisson Becker, phenomenal save on what around was it like 49 minutes. Absolutely brilliant in a one-on-one situation there, especially after the Everton game when I think he was kind of poor in that one-on-one situation with Beto. Great save from Becker. Substitutions, I think, made a little bit of a difference. Conor Bradley getting stuck in, very physical. I thought Endo was brilliant as well. Came on with 20 minutes to go. Usually we've only really seen him with 5 minutes to go here and there. Came on with a good portion of the game to go. Liverpool dropped into a double pivot with Endo and McAllister. Looked to have a little bit more, not quite control, but they were controlling the space a little bit better. I think Endo is always going to make a couple of fouls, but he's also knows how to draw fouls. He's the only real natural defensive midfielder in the squad. I would like to see him start against Aston Villa, give Ryan Gravenberch a rest. I don't think that's the game from Gravenberch. Stick as a double pivot again, McAllister, Endo against Villa. I think that's the way forward. Andy Robertson gets a lot of stick. Not an amazing game from Robbo today, but he's one of the few players who was trying to play in a bit more direct way. I think he was getting it forward to Gakpo and then later on Szoboszlai on the left, trying to play a little bit more direct, trying to get Liverpool go, trying to raise the tempo a little bit when it's very, very difficult to do so. He was trying to do that. I think you've got to acknowledge that you need players who can do that, take on that little bit of responsibility. So I enjoyed seeing that. So where does this leave Liverpool? Well, it leaves Liverpool at the top of the league. 7 points clear. Aston Villa on Wednesday. Next week against Manchester City. Now the pressure is at Arsenal. They play before us. They've got West Ham on Saturday. It's going to be like this, I think, to the end of the season until Liverpool and Arsenal both run out of games, and hopefully Liverpool have got the points on the board then. Don't worry about another poor performance from Liverpool. Just enjoy the fact that we've got 4 points out of 6 in this first 2 games of this challenging little run of games. Liverpool, top of the Premier League, once again, 7 points clear, another game gone. Just enjoy it. Up the Reds. Here we go.